They tapped into my private water line on a Thursday night without permission, assuming nobody would notice the pressure shift or question the sudden, invisible diversion happening underground. By Saturday morning, I walked calmly to the concrete vault and turned the main valve a deliberate quarter turn left, knowing exactly what consequence would ripple outward. Within hours, the clubhouse fountains sputtered empty. The resort pool pumps grown dry, and every irrigation zone across Ridgecrest Falls inhaled dust instead of water. Nobody from the board called to apologize for trespassing on a recorded easement, but by Tuesday morning, their phones were lighting up with residents demanding explanations. My name is Frank Delano, 62 years old, retired civil hydraulics engineer with 28 years designing municipal water distribution systems across the Southwest. I am broad-shouldered, unhurried, and patient in the specific way engineers become after decades. Watching water pressure stabilize and systems reveal weaknesses. I live on 2 acres at the edge of Ridgecrest Falls in Henderson, where desert meets master plan development boundaries. My property predates the community, and beneath its soil runs a secondary supply line protected by a recorded 1974 easement most homeowners never knew existed. Ridgecrest Falls consists of 226 homes built between 2007 and 2011, complete with clubhouse, pocket parks, and ambitious desert irrigation infrastructure. Water here flows from the Southern Nevada Water Authority, metered carefully and priced so every gallon represents a deliberate budget decision. The HOA annual budget approaches $400,000, and the largest controllable expense by far has always been water and landscaping maintenance. I purchased my acreage in 2003 from rancher Albert Posey, who retained these 2 acres when selling surrounding land to the eventual developer. Along with the deed, Albert transferred a recorded private water easement, granting access to a secondary supply branching from a regional trunk line. That secondary line crossed what later became the Western Common Area and included a cooperative supplemental feed, once serving adjacent agricultural property. When development arrived, the supplemental connection was never formally severed. Instead, it was quietly absorbed into the HOA irrigation system without documentation. The main shutoff valve controlling that secondary supply sits 6 feet inside my fence line, within a concrete vault labeled clearly with my name. In 2004, I hired a licensed plumber to walk the entire easement route, confirming valve position, documenting flow rates, and installing a pressure gauge. I understood from day one that the cooperative feed required future clarification, yet until recently it caused no measurable harm or conflict. Shutting down active irrigation demands coordination and notice, and I had never been given reason to escalate the situation abruptly or publicly. That changed under HOA Board President Dale Pritchard, a commercial property manager obsessed with trimming water expenditures. Dale treated spreadsheets like novels, analyzing line items with emotional investment and celebrating $40,000 in annual water savings. For months before our dispute, he commissioned Desert Water Solutions to survey infrastructure for additional efficiency opportunities across the development. Their report identified the Western Supplemental Feed as an external asset supplying irrigation, without passing through the HOA primary metered system. Instead of verifying legal rights to that feed, Dale decided to expand it, believing optimization justified integration into the main manifold. On a Thursday night, contractors extended the supplemental connection into the full irrigation header, linking parks and clubhouse landscaping to my line. They never contacted me, never consulted county records, never asked who actually owned the external supply feeding their ambitious expansion. I discovered the intrusion Friday morning when kitchen water pressure dipped subtly below baseline, just enough for an engineer to notice. At the vault, the lid remained closed and the valve unchanged. Yet my gauge showed reduced pressure and unexplained outbound flow volume. Someone had increased load on my line, drawing water far beyond normal household consumption patterns recorded by my installed flow meter. Walking the western boundary, I found fresh conduit, new fittings, and a manifold junction absent only 1 week earlier. The workmanship was professional, clean, and confident, the kind installed by contractors believing authorization had already been secured. I photographed everything carefully, documenting angles, serial numbers, and trench disturbances, before calling plumber Arthur Gomez to verify formally. I then contacted attorney Claire Donovan, who had handled my closing and remained familiar with the easement documentation. Claire reviewed the 1974 records that evening and called back stating unequivocally this constituted textbook unauthorized use of a private easement. She drafted a formal notice demanding removal of the expansion within 72 hours and initiation of negotiations regarding any continued use. We sent certified letters Saturday morning and emailed copies to the HOA management company, granting the board an opportunity to respond responsibly. No response arrived, and internal emails later revealed Dale dismissed the claim as nuisance misunderstanding of shared infrastructure. Monday morning, with 72 hours expired, I opened the vault and turned the valve precisely 1/4 turn left. Flow through the secondary line dropped immediately to 0, while the HOA automated timers prepared for their routine 5 a.m. irrigation cycle. Tuesday at 5, primary metered zones functioned normally, but areas tied to the expanded manifold pulled nothing but air. Soil moisture sensors flagged dry zones and transmitted alerts directly to Dale's phone minutes after system activation. By 6 a.m., technicians traced the dead feed to my property boundary where it disappeared toward the locked vault. The Clark County Water District confirmed the line was private, controlled by recorded easement holder Frank Delano. Dale called my cell requesting urgent discussion about an unexpected supply failure affecting community assets. I listened to his voicemail calmly over breakfast, understanding the phone would ring again once gravity of situation settled. When I answered the second call, he framed the issue as unfortunate timing and shared resource confusion. I asked whether he had received my attorney's notice identifying unauthorized expansion and demanding corrective action. Silence followed, then acknowledgement, then cautious explanation about legacy cooperative feeds and infrastructure assumptions. I clarified the easement granted no right to expansion and no entitlement absent written consent from the recorded holder. I informed him the valve would remain closed until either a formal agreement existed or the unauthorized manifold extension disappeared entirely. After recalculating his leverage, Dale asked what a formal agreement might require to restore irrigation stability. I directed him to have HOA counsel contact Claire Donovan, providing her number and ending the conversation succinctly. Gerald Foss, the HOA attorney, reviewed documents and conceded ownership while questioning disruption impacts on landscaped common areas. Through Claire, I offered to restore original cooperative flow once expansion was removed and written confirmation provided. Desert Water Solutions returned Thursday morning, severed the manifold extension, and reinstated the single-zone western configuration. Diagrams and compliance letters arrived by noon, verifying removal of unauthorized infrastructure beyond original connection scope. At 2 p.m., I reopened the valve, storing water to the western common area only, leaving other zones on metered supply. Dale called that evening with noticeably altered tone, expressing appreciation and acknowledging need for structured, documented agreement moving forward. Over 6 weeks, attorneys drafted comprehensive easement use terms addressing historical benefit and future licensed supplemental supply parameters. The HOA acknowledged 8 years of undocumented use and agreed to retroactive license fees totaling just under $22,000. Going forward, annual payments would mirror Southern Nevada rate adjustments and remain limited strictly to original cooperative volume. At my insistence, the agreement mandated prior written consent for any modification, expansion, or pressure alteration whatsoever. Unauthorized changes would trigger immediate termination and forfeiture of all fees, eliminating ambiguity and discouraging creative interpretation. The HOA board approved the agreement unanimously, recognizing litigation risk outweighed cost of formalizing legitimate access. Claire recorded the finalized document in Clark County property records, permanently attaching obligations to both title chains. The retroactive payment reimbursed legal costs, and remaining funds were donated to a regional water conservation nonprofit. Water in the Mojave Desert demands accountability, and symbolic restitution felt appropriate given circumstances and professional background. A postscript emerged involving Desert Water Solutions, whose due diligence failed to verify easement authorization before connection work. Claire filed a complaint with the Nevada State Contractors Board detailing the procedural oversight. The board investigation determined contract templates lacked mandatory certification of easement rights prior to external line integration. Rather than imposing heavy sanctions, regulators required updated authorization procedures and documented verification safeguards moving forward. That systemic correction ensures future contractors confirm ownership before tapping into privately controlled infrastructure corridors. Dale remained on the board after settlement, and to his credit, complied meticulously with the recorded agreement terms. Annual license payments arrived punctually, accompanied by written correspondence requesting seasonal pressure adjustments through proper channels. We are not friends, yet we exchange brief nods at the entrance when our paths cross without lingering conversation. Neighborly coexistence depends less on warmth and more on respecting boundaries clearly described in recorded documents. The quarter turn of that valve was never theatrical punishment, but proportionate response to ignored formal notice. Courts were available, certainly, but litigation would have consumed months, while lawns dried and legal fees multiplied. Engineering teaches you to identify the precise intervention point, offering maximum control with minimal, irreversible consequence. In this case, the intervention point sat beneath a labeled concrete lid 6 feet inside my fence. Turning it created immediate leverage without permanent damage. A reversible demonstration of ownership and responsibility. The moment the other side chose compliance, restoration required nothing more dramatic than another measured quarter turn. No pipes were damaged, no landscapes destroyed, no reputations attacked publicly beyond necessary factual clarification. It was controlled pressure applied to a system until equilibrium returned under documented, mutually acknowledged conditions. If someone taps your property, whether water, access, or power, documentation usually exists protecting your rights. County records, recorded easements, and title histories are not abstract paperwork. They are operational tools. Know where your equivalent valve is located before conflict forces you to search frantically for leverage. Understand the infrastructure touching your land, because ignorance benefits whoever moves first without permission. The more these disputes are discussed openly, the harder it becomes for future boards to skip consent. Efficiency is admirable, but optimization without legal foundation converts savings into liability overnight. Dale learned that assets appearing free on spreadsheets may belong to someone reading different documentation entirely. I learned that patience must occasionally be paired with decisive action to preserve clarity and boundaries. Water finds its level eventually, but human systems require deliberate correction when assumptions replace verification. A recorded easement from 1974 carried more authority than any modern efficiency initiative lacking consent. Find the valve in your own circumstances, whether literal or metaphorical, and understand its controlled potential. Then, if necessary, turn it once, wait calmly, and let the phone ring until respect flows properly restored.